Good morning. My name is Joe Barker, and I'm a member of Sunnyhill's pastoral care team. Our mission as a team is to reach out to the members of our congregation who are going through challenging or significant life events. Our goal is to create a more compassionate community within Sunnyhill and throughout the community. If you would like to be contacted by a member of our team, you can reach out to us directly, or you can fill out a confidential caring card found in our entrance hall and give it to Rev. Jim or Bethany Thornton or a member of the pastoral care team. Each week at this time, we share joys and sorrows submitted by members and friends of Sunnyhill. Joys and sorrows may be submitted on our website, sunnyhill.org, or by filling out the caring card found in our entrance hall. After each joy or sorrow that I read, please respond by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." We have a joy this morning from Lois Brown. I want to express my enormous gratitude to all our Sunnyhill friends for the support they offered during my recovery from hip surgery. Their love, great food, and laughter was the very best medicine for both Nancy and me. For Lois and Nancy, we hold you in our hearts. We have a sorrow this morning from Scott Smith. Scott writes, "My older brother in Philadelphia has recently been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Severe depression may have delayed his diagnosis and is clouding his thoughts about the future. Fortunately, all his children and their partners and his grandchildren are actively supporting him. We hope that he will awaken and take comfort in all the love that surrounds him. For Scott, his brother, and their families, we hold you in our hearts." We have a joy this morning from Angela Klein. "After a couple years of my life being in turmoil and having work obligations, I have returned to the fold at Sunnyhill. I am so grateful for my Sunnyhill family as they never abandoned me in my time of need. I very much look forward to participating and helping, as well as a brighter future with the wind at my back and Sunnyhill members by my side. For Angela, we hold you in our hearts." We have a joy from Rebecca Weaver. "Finley is starting their new job with Washington County OVR on Monday, November 17th. This is a very exciting step, and both of us are excited to see where this position takes them. For Rebecca and for Finley, we hold you in our hearts." For the joys and sorrows that are unspoken today, let us hold in our caring circle of love each person here. Let us hold in our hearts those unable to be here. Let us hold in our memories those who have moved on. Let us find comfort here at Sunnyhill in knowing that we are never alone. As we sing our musical meditation, we invite anyone who feels moved to do so to come forward to the front of the sanctuary, light a candle, place it in the sand, and then return to your seat.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me again. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Ooh, ooh.
I have one more candle that I'm going to light. The Transgender Day of Remembrance, which takes place each year on November 20th, was founded in 1999 by transgender advocate Gwendolyn Ann Smith as a vigil to honor the memory of Rita Hester, a transgender woman who was killed in 1998. The vigil commemorated all the transgender people lost to violence since Rita Hester's death and began an important annual tradition. I'm lighting a special candle today to commemorate the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which takes place this Thursday. On this Transgender Day of Remembrance, we remember those who have been killed merely for being who they are, those who face violence on a daily basis, those who have lost loved ones, and those who worry for loved ones. May we come to a time when we cease to shame and persecute people because of gender and gender expression. May we come to a time when we allow for freedom and exploration of identity and expression into a world that operates from love, especially when things are difficult and confusing. May all of us who live with the threat of violence find support, strength, community, hope, and safety from violence. Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. In a world misshapen by oppression, we long to give life the shape of justice. In a world that mocks empathy, we long for compassion to stir in our hearts. In a world that seems to have come unmoored, we long for roots that will ground us. In a world that can seem cold and lonely, we long for care and comfort and love. In this moment, we pause for silence to sense the spirit of life that sustains us, that nourishes us, that lifts us up and sets us free. We pause now for a moment of silence. May our troubled minds find peace. May our troubled hearts find love. And may our troubled souls find rest in the spirit of life and love, now and always. Amen. It's great to have all of you here today. When we have just one service, it reminds me of why we have two services most of the time. But I appreciate your probably having to hunt down parking spaces and elbow your way into the sanctuary today. It is a special day for us. In this, my 12th year as minister of this congregation, if you can believe that, I continue to be surprised by this church and by you, the members of this congregation. Most of the time, I would say that I'm pleasantly surprised. Not always, but really most of the time. I am surprised by this congregation's resilience, having gone through so many changes in such a relatively short period of time. More than doubling in size over the past 10 years, while going through a major building project 8 years ago that shut down normal operations for some 14 months, followed less than 3 years later by a global pandemic that again shut down operations for more than a year. And by the way, during the same period of time, our country has been going through a major upheaval socially, politically, and economically. It's been an era of remarkable instability in so many ways. And yet this congregation has thrived, not just surviving, but growing and expanding in ways that I knew were possible, but I still found, as I said, pleasantly surprising. The way has not always been smooth or easy, far from it. But time after time, this congregation has found its balance and continued moving forward. At the heart of this congregation's progress over the past 10 or 12 years has been an embodied commitment, an actual lived out commitment to two aspects of Sunnyhill's mission statement, which we mention each week at the beginning of our services: creating a more compassionate community and creating a more just community, both of these within and beyond our walls. I want to spend a few minutes considering the ways in which this congregation has managed, metaphorically, to bend the road out front toward our front door through compassionate action, while also working to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. A story from Sudan tells of a man called Ate who lived in a tiny village in the countryside, far, far away from the city. Life was good for Ate and his many family members. They were able to grow the food that they needed. There was clean water in a nearby river, and there were trees and wood enough to build the simple homes that they needed. Now and then they traveled on the long road into the city to trade for things that they couldn't produce themselves, but for the most part, they stayed in that tiny little village. The village was situated next to a river, but very far from the main road, so it was rare for them to get any visitors. But one day, not far from the village, a caravan of a dozen merchants lost their way. Several days passed as they wandered around through the countryside, sometimes circling back on where they had been before. And they began to despair that they would be able to find the road again. And then one morning they heard a rooster crowing, and they knew that meant that there had to be some people pretty close by. So they followed the sound until at last they found the village, where they were met in a very warm manner by children who smiled and welcomed them. They guided the merchants into a common yard in the center of the village and gave them the refreshments that they needed. The merchants were then invited into another yard and welcomed by Ate himself, who asked them to join his family for a feast. He said, every time someone finds their way to our village, it's a feast day for us. At the feast, everyone ate delicious food, sang songs, and told stories, and gave thanks for their good luck in having found this particular village and this group of people. The villagers made the merchants feel at home and welcomed them to stay for several days until they were rested. And when at last the merchants did go on, the villagers made sure to tell them that they were welcome to come back anytime they like and to bring their friends with them. The name Ate means giver, and he said that it was his honor and privilege to be able to host the merchants. He invited them again to return whenever they could. And they did. The next year, around the same time, the merchants came back, but this time there were more of them. And again, they were warmly welcomed and received just as they were before. After that, stories about Ate and his village began to spread far and wide, and more people found their way off of the main road to that village. Finally, the stream of visitors was so frequent that the path to the village became more visible than that section of main road. The former road all but disappeared. The village of Ate became the most important stop along the road. All who stopped there were served with the same warmth and generosity. All the food and any supplies needed were given, a room to sleep, and care were provided at no costs. Ate came to be called the one who bent the road. His story is shared to this day in Sudan, and the Sudanese people continue to offer the same kind of generosity to strangers. I tell this story because I believe that this congregation, through its warm, compassionate, generous, radically welcoming work, has managed to bend that road out front at least a little bit toward our front door. Before I arrived here, I understand the congregation was considering several different building plans, one of which, if I am correct, involved constructing a new building that came right out to the sidewalk on Washington Road to increase our visibility by being right on the road. So in that case, it would have been moving the building toward the street. But the congregation has somehow managed instead to bend the road toward us. The literal distance between our front door and Washington Road may be about the same as it was decades ago, but that door opens wider than it used to. It opens to this place where all are welcome, especially those who have not found a warm welcome elsewhere. Each time our door opens and we open-heartedly welcome someone into our midst, we are bending the road. This work is especially important now when compassion seems in short supply and is even scorned among those who have embraced the politics of cruelty and fear. And as I've said before, this work of compassionate welcoming is not just a nice thing to do. It is vital, life-affirming work. Our last building and renovation project, completed, as I said, just over 8 years ago, has been a great help to this congregation in its work of bending the road. The warm, beautiful, welcoming space with its windows oriented outward continues to serve this congregation well, just as the next phase will help us with space we need to do this work now and well into the future. We will continue to bend the road toward compassion, toward our red door and our rainbow flag, toward equity and inclusion for all. We do this road-bending work through radical hospitality, radical welcome, and acts of genuine compassion. But it's not just about bending the road. There are other things in our larger community and in our world that need to be changed or transformed, things that need to be made more just. Martin Luther King Jr. famously stated that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice, as a reminder that the struggle for human rights is a long one that stretches over the course of many lifetimes and many generations, but that in the end, justice will prevail. Few people, including relatively few Unitarians, know that King was paraphrasing one of our religious forebears, the great 19th century Unitarian preacher and abolitionist Theodore Parker, who wrote in 1853, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eyes reach but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience, and from what I see, I am sure it bends toward justice." After the U.S. Congress passed the Fugitive Slave Law in 1850, Theodore Parker helped hide members of his congregation who had escaped slavery on the grounds of the church he served in Massachusetts. He wrote at that time, "I have been obliged to take my own parishioners into my house to keep them out of the clutches of the kidnapper," meaning the fugitive slave bounty hunters. He continues, "Yes, gentlemen, I have been obliged to do that and then to keep my doors guarded by day as well as by night. I have had to arm myself. I have written my sermons with a pistol in my desk, loaded and ready for action. Yes, with a drawn sword within reach of my right hand. This I have done," he said, "in Boston in the middle of the 19th century. I've been obliged to do it to defend the innocent members of my own church, women as well as men." Parker's impassioned rhetoric moved hearts and minds in and around Boston, and he became a leader of the abolitionist movement in New England. But he knew that the struggle in which he was engaged was going to be long and bloody and perhaps would not end even within his own lifetime. Still, he found that by engaging wholeheartedly in that struggle, he divined by conscience that the arc of the moral universe in the end bends toward justice. However, as has become clear over the course of the many decades since Theodore Parker's time, the arc of the moral universe does not bend on its own. Rather, it bends as the result of the faithful work of a great many people over the span of a great many years. If the arc is to bend, we are the ones who must bend it. We see and hear echoes of Parker's era in our own time as secret police in the form of masked ICE agents act with impunity, arresting, detaining, and frequently deporting people who in some cases turn out to be U.S. citizens, people who are here entirely legally and are not only not threatening to this country, but are in fact responsible, hardworking people who are contributing to our nation's prosperity and well-being. We see and hear echoes of Parker's era in our own time as the country has become divided over issues having to do with whether or not all human beings should be treated with dignity and respect, whether or not we wish to be a land of freedom for all or a land of freedom only for those of certain national, ethnic, racial, or socioeconomic groups, whether we value truth and the rule of law or only propaganda and brute force. The arc of the moral universe is very long indeed. It stretches from the 19th century into the 21st century and beyond. While we can see signs of progress during that time, we can also see that every bit of progress can be reversed. Nothing about creating a more just world is inevitable. As the keepers and inheritors of the faith that has been passed down to us from Theodore Parker and others, we are called to do the work of bending the arc of the moral universe in our own time toward justice, toward compassion, toward love. As we consider what's next for this congregation with regard to building, let us keep in mind that we are not just constructing a building. We are creating spaces in which we might better do the work of bending the road toward compassion and bending the arc of the moral universe toward justice. Last month at our Founders Day service, I mentioned 3 lessons from the congregation's earliest years that I'd like us to keep in mind, and I reiterate them today as I think they're important to consider as we enter into another phase of building. The first is that you don't have to have everything figured out before you start something. In fact, if you wait until you figured out everything, you will never get started. It's good and necessary and essential to have well thought out plans. Do not mistake me. But at some point, you need to get on with it in faith that you will learn from your mistakes and continue the journey. The second lesson that I'd like to highlight is that anything worth doing requires some amount of sacrifice, perseverance, and significant investments of time, talent, and treasure. If something is meaningful to you and you want it to succeed, you need to do the work that has to be done and put forth, yes, the money and the effort that are required. And when I say you, I mean all of us. The third important lesson from Sunnyhill's history that I'd like to mention is that any significant undertaking is more about the journey than it is about the destination. It is important and necessary to have a vision in mind when you start something, but it is the experiences that you will have along the way that are more important than anything else in the end. The laughter and the heartbreak, the friendships that are formed, the moments of insight, the shared joys and sorrows, the human connections that bind one to another, these are the things that always will matter most. As we continue the work of bending the road toward compassion and bending the arc of the moral universe toward justice, I hope and pray that we will do so in faith that we will learn as we go, that we will be generous in spirit and generous in material ways, and that we will always focus on the journey itself as our source of joy and love. May it be so. Amen. Please rise again in body or spirit. As we sing, we are building a new way.
We are building a new way. We are building
Our Share the Plate beneficiary for the month of November is the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, whose mission is to ensure that anyone who needs a healthy meal can get one. The food bank provides food and meals to individuals and organizations in 11 counties in southwest Pennsylvania. With the current federal government shutdown, more than 2 million Pennsylvanians have lost or are in danger of losing food assistance benefits through the SNAP program, creating a crisis for people in need. Supporting the food bank is more important now than ever before. You can make a gift online on our website or by text at 412-324-3130. We'll be passing our offering baskets for cash and checks in just a moment. And if you're writing a check, please make it out to UUCSH and put Share the Plate in the memo line. Please join me in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I want to express my thanks to John Pollock on drums today and Doug Reichenfeld on piano. Lovely job. We're going to be having a congregational meeting in about 15 minutes. You're free to go find a cup of coffee, take a restroom break if you need to, and then come back, after which we'll have a presentation from our architects from Rothschild Doino, who are with us today. Ken and Nick, if you could just wave to everybody. And you're welcome to stay for that meeting, whether or not you'll remember. If you're a visitor, you might have some catching up to do to figure out where we are with all of this. But all are welcome. For now, we'll close with these words. Go in hope, for the arc of the universe is long, and we can bend it toward justice. Go in courage, for together we have the strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and in the larger world. Go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives. And as you go in hope, courage, and love, also may you go in peace.